Hey there, everybody. Welcome to Amazing Indiana. My name's Fred, and today I'm coming to you from Elkhart, Indiana. We're going to be taking a tour of some of the sites that this town has to offer. Elkhart is in northern Indiana. If you like the channel, please remember to subscribe and also like this video so you can keep up with all of the interesting things that I get to show you about the great state of Indiana. I'm standing in front of one of Indiana's many unique museums and attractions. This is the RV Hall of Fame here near Elkhart, Indiana. And the sound you hear behind me is the sound of the Indiana Toll Road, which runs across the northern part of our state. And if you've ever driven through Indiana on your way to Chicago, perhaps, you've probably driven right past this museum. This is an opportunity for you to stop and see something which makes Indiana an amazing place. As far as I know, this is the only museum anywhere in the United States, and I would suspect anywhere in the world, which is dedicated to recreational vehicles. The museum is absolutely huge. It's about 100,000 square feet. It was first opened in 1991, and it traces the history of RVs going back about 100 years when they started actually with what we would now recognize as pop-up campers. The museum is interesting because you walk a long, winding road, which of course shows the spirit of having an RV, that you're able to go out on the open road and chart your own course and see all kinds of interesting things. The museum is located in this part of Indiana because there are many manufacturers of RVs and also manufactured homes in this part of Indiana. And part of the museum expansion will be to highlight manufactured homes. That part of the museum will open later on. As you move down the open road in the RV museum, you'll see a variety of pop-up campers. You'll see a variety of small camping trailers. You'll see all kinds of interesting camping vehicles. The museum is really well maintained. It's very impressive. You're able to get inside most of the RVs that are on display, and that helps you to understand you have to be a special kind of person to travel this way with your family. Now, some of these RVs are really kind of tripped out. The one behind me here looks like an old Ford Woody, but I don't think it is. But it's got beautiful natural wood, and you can stick your head inside. Here at the RV Hall of Fame, you can also go in many of these RVs and trailers, and that's kind of cool because it kind of gives you a sense of how big they are. One of the museum's more interesting RVs is a vehicle that was owned by Mae West, the Hollywood actress. It was given to her by Paramount Pictures to persuade her to star in some movies. One wonders if she ever invited W.C. Fields to come up and see her sometime. The museum has a complete display of small die-cast campers and RVs, kind of fun to check out. No visit to the RV Hall of Fame would be complete without stopping by the gift shop to commemorate your visit with a t-shirt or a mug. After I went to the RV Hall of Fame, I decided to have lunch in downtown Elkhart at the Old Style Deli. Got a really great roast beef sandwich. It's a great place. I recommend it highly. One of the things that I wanted to do with Amazing Indiana is point out to you guys local restaurants that you can stop and have a bite to eat instead of, going to a local fast food place. One of the things that I really like about cities and towns throughout Indiana is the attention to locally produced art. I'm amazed as I go around Indiana all of the beautiful public art that I see around our state. And that's certainly the case in Elkhart. Now, Elkhart has a great name, Elk and Hart. And so as you go around Elkhart, Indiana, and the surrounding county, you're going to find fiberglass elks that have been decorated by various organizations and businesses. Those are great. And in the downtown area, you'll find a couple of hearts that have been decorated. That's neat too. And one of the things that I really love about Elkhart is the murals that it has around the downtown area. I took pictures of several of them. They're really lovely. I really enjoy how Indiana towns have decorated their buildings with murals and other works of outdoor art. It really makes the town look awfully nice. And Elkhart is a very beautiful little city, and it's really a pleasure to visit. Downtown Elkhart, Indiana is home to the Midwest Museum of American Art. It was founded in 1979. The museum is housed in a neoclassical bank building, which was repurposed for use by the museum. The museum has approximately 7,000 pieces in its permanent collection, and approximately 1,200 of those pieces are on view at any one time. The museum also has traveling exhibitions which come to Elkhart from time to time. That's a real benefit for the people of northern Indiana because you can see some really great art without having to go like all the way to Chicago.
Go ahead. So welcome to the Midwest Museum of American Art. Our permanent collection is in this main hall, which seeks to explore nearly 200 years of American art history in the United States. In our collection, we show work by significant first-tier examples of American art by Grant Wood, John Singer Sargent, and Andy Warhol. We have a pretty large collection, Norman Rockwell lithographs on display on the second floor, many of which were published Saturday Evening Post covers, in addition to several sculptural groupings by John Rogers, who was an early influence on the artist, Norman Rockwell. And then our temporary exhibit is just to the north there. Right now, we're featuring this traveling exhibit. The museum is its last stop. So this is a once-in-a-lifetime chance to see it before it goes.
Oh, wonderful.
In September, Historic Indiana in Plein Air. The Department of Natural Resources for the state is celebrating its 50th anniversary. And coming up on, well, it's pending now on its 2000th listing into the state database. So the organizers of the event have invited artists to record some kind of spectacular site, whether it's a park, a structure, whatever location, paint the scene, and then have it put into this exhibit and then exhibited in several museums throughout the state. So pretty handsome exhibit. Have to see it. Enjoy it.
I will. The museum has some lovely and really cool pieces of art in the main entrance area to the museum, and at the rear of the building you can see the old bank vault. Hands down, my favorite part of this museum was the Norman Rockwell collection of lithographs on the second floor of the museum. Many of these lithographs you've probably seen before. They represent many of the magazine covers that Rockwell painted for the Saturday Evening Post. And it's amazing to think that Rockwell was producing these magazine covers on a weekly basis. And again, many of them are very familiar, and it's really neat to see the museum has preserved this part of very important Americana for all of us. A centerpiece of the museum's collection is that of Overbeck pottery. There were four sisters, the Overbeck sisters, who produced lovely works of pottery in the early 20th century, and the museum has quite an extensive collection. The Midwest Museum of American Art is really a wonderful art museum. It's a great place to check out in Elkhart. The collection is absolutely beautiful, and you'll be very impressed by what you see. And you don't have to go all the way to Chicago to see some great art. This is the New York Central Railroad Museum here in Elkhart, Indiana. Great place if you're interested in trains, and even if you're not interested in trains, this is a place that you have got to check out. Behind me is the original Elkhart depot, and that's across the tracks from the museum. Over here you'll see a steam engine. This is part of the outdoor display area, and we're going to explore that. And inside a freight building, there are all kinds of fascinating railroad memorabilia items, and also a really great model train that runs inside this wonderful room that's got all kinds of model train that's displayed. It's a great place to come, and I think if you're coming to Indiana, this is a place to check out, especially if you've got kids. Kids love trains. As a kid, I loved trains, and I think kids still do. So this is a place that you'll want to check out. So as we stroll through the New York Central Railroad Museum in Elkhart, Indiana, you might be asking, as I asked, why exactly is there a museum dedicated to the New York Central Railroad in Elkhart, Indiana? The answer really is quite simple, because at one time the New York Central had one of its largest railroad yards located in Elkhart, Indiana. Many trains of the New York Central came through this part of Indiana, and a lot of work was done on the trains. Now, what's marvelous about this museum is that it preserves the history of the old New York Central Railroad, which is now a thing of the past. It also has numerous artifacts from other railroads, lots of interesting stuff to look at, and one of my favorite things is the model train set. This is my favorite part of this particular railway museum. Here we see all of these incredibly cool O-scale model railroad running around this track. It's just great, and I could actually spend hours in here just looking at these trains moving along. Hey, you're probably wondering why little Speedy, the mascot for Alka-Seltzer, is in the New York Central Railroad Museum in Elkhart, Indiana. Well, it's very simple. You see, Elkhart was the home of Miles Laboratories. Miles Laboratories were founded by Dr. Franklin Lawrence Miles, and they produced Alka-Seltzer right in Elkhart, Indiana. Another thing which makes Indiana amazing. Outside of the museum, you will find an extensive display of rolling stock, that is, old railroad cars, and also a steam engine and a diesel engine. It's really great to be able to walk among this equipment and get a sense of the old New York Central Railroad. There are a lot of rail cars outside here in Elkhart, and you can walk among them, you can take pictures. Some of them you can climb up on if you're so interested. Some of these cars are falling into disrepair, and that's kind of sad. It's very expensive for rail museums to maintain their cars and their engines, especially when they're outside. And remember, we're in northern Indiana right now, and winter is a cruel time for these trains. So by coming to the museum and paying the admission fee, you're helping to preserve this part of very important Indiana history. Well, that was our trip to Elkhart, Indiana. I hope you enjoyed visiting Elkhart with me as much as I enjoyed my visit to Elkhart. There's a whole lot more to see in Elkhart than just the couple of places that we were able to visit in this episode of Amazing Indiana, and I promise that I will be going back to Elkhart at some point in the future and producing another episode of Amazing Indiana from Elkhart. Until then, I hope that you will continue to watch the channel, subscribe, and like this video, and we'll see you again on another episode of Amazing Indiana.